Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Rating agency Moody's has revised the country's credit outlook from positive to negative. But what influenced the review of our rating to B3 negative as at Friday last week? George Rafi has more.
Moody's is basing the move on the risk that the economy is now exposed to due to the coronavirus. This, the agency says, now makes it more difficult and challenging for the country to raise the required funds to support its day-to-day dealings. It argues that those variables that cause it to review the country's outlook positive are now under serious threats. Moody's is also raising some funding pressures that may force the country to go out and borrow at a very high cost, pushing the country's debt-to-GDP ratio to 70% at the end of this year. Challenges in meeting its debt obligations in the future due to the current challenges with the economy. And this is more of a warning to investors that engages government that it could have some challenges in the future. Now, this review and outlook could also trickle down to private businesses that might want to borrow from outside the country.
Let's make sense of this downgrade. Joy Business Assistant Editor Novan Akwahefo joins me in the studio. What does this mean, Novan?
Okay, so what this clearly means is that investors, though, may give us money when we are looking to, let's say, we go for the raising bonds or anything, be it foreign or domestic, they will, but at a higher cost. So in terms of the interest that will be placed on it, it would be at a higher cost. That's what they talk about, the risk. And then also they are looking at the challenges that you face as a country. You know, we may have challenges with regards to revenue, trying to raise local revenue here. And those were one of the issues that they flagged for us. They looked at our ability to attract investments to our side of the world. And so these are challenging times if you want to look at it for us.
Fair analysis from Moody's. People have the argument that it's not fair because this challenge that we have is pandemic induced. And so for Moody's to rate us or give us a downgrade is not really fair at this point.
Well, you may want to say it's not fair, but then Moody's just are rating us. First of all, Darryl, remember that as a country, we are already a high risk, and that's how we've been classified by the IMF and the World Bank already. And that is induced by certain factors within the economy. And one of the key things which I earlier mentioned has to do with our inability to raise enough revenues and the budget shortfalls that we have. And so we have to fall on investors from our side in terms of raising bonds. Just in January, you remember that we raised $3 billion to support the budget and also repay certain, bonds that were in maturity.
The outlook was positive
by Fitch. You understand? But this is Moody's. 3 months down the line, we even have more challenges that is facing us. And then they are telling us that, look, if you look at already a country that is high risk in terms of its classification, and then you look at what has happened now, that even worsens our situation. It makes it more difficult. And so when investors are looking at us, they have to look at us in a particular way. And if they want to give us money, these funds that they would want to release to us might come at a higher cost to us.
Negative doesn't sound good, and so what could be the impact, especially on the cost of borrowing?
I mean, what it means is that even when it comes to commercial banks, don't forget that these rating agencies don't just rate just the government. You have certain financial institutions or companies that also goes on the bond market or the capital market to want to borrow funds from there. And what this means is that when you have, let's say, a rating agency rating the government this way, it affects these companies as well. And when it affects them, it means that they are going to borrow at a high cost. And when they borrow at a high cost, it means that the loans that they will lend to the SMEs or to the individuals like you and I or to companies that need money would also come at a high interest rate. So it right from the top, it trickles down to the very bottom of the economy.
All right. Thanks for the analysis, Novan Akwahefo, the Joy Business Assistant Editor.